This is electric. Oh man, this is electric. Okay. Oh hey, we're good. I fixed it.
We're good.
Yeah, we're good. So, all right, welcome into Load the Box. Sorry about the technical difficulties to kick off this show. We're knocking a little bit of the rust off here, as this has been a long and difficult Viking season for me and Jack. As you can see, I have already put on the hockey gear as I'm fully transitioning now that Cincinnati is done, Notre Dame is done. The Vikings might as well be done. And there's really not even any excitement for the game going on tonight. Jack, I don't know how much we want to spend on last week. I got the idea this was going to be mostly focusing on tonight's game against Green Bay, in Green Bay. Going to be like 5 degrees Fahrenheit up there in Wisconsin. If you have any thoughts from last week besides, same old Vikings, just can't get it done, blah, blah, blah. Feel free to go ahead and give those now. But also, man, how have you been? It's been a minute since we've spoke in the public sphere. So let the people know how you've been these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's been a good holiday break. I was able to get some time with family in, but we were talking about this before the show. The football gods have not been too kind to me. I lost in a tiebreaker in fantasy football. I've had to watch the Minnesota Vikings team that is the most lackluster performing team that somehow can pull. I don't even know how to explain them anymore. I say they're lackluster, but they have the ability to pull fans back into the game because they have that excitement level. They have exciting players. They just can't put anything together. And I'm ready for this season to be over. I'm really curious to see how things pan out for this team in the offseason because I think there's going to be a lot of changes. I think there has to be a lot of changes. I don't know. We can kind of get into this. I don't have a ton of thoughts on that Rams game. It was frustrating, to say the least, as every other game that the Vikings have played in this year has been. But at the end of the day, the Vikings, I've said this already, they do not strike me as a playoff team anymore. I don't think they should be mentioned in the same conversation as the playoffs. If they lose tonight and the Philadelphia Eagles win today, they are officially eliminated from the playoffs. For some reason, maybe the Vikings find luck and they somehow win with Sean Mannion tonight and the Eagles lose to Washington. That would not surprise me at all either because it is the Minnesota Vikings. And then at the end of the day, they'll probably just somehow find a way to lose Chicago at home next week and then solidify their no chance at the playoffs that way. I have no idea, but it's just been a frustrating season. I think that's going to be on full display tonight. I personally don't think the Vikings have a shot in hell at winning at Lambeau Field. They don't play well outside in the cold typically. They don't have a lot of guys they're missing. Obviously, Thielen went on IR. That was probably one of the biggest news stories we've missed since we've last talked. But it sounds like Cameron Dantzler is doubtful. Michael Pierce isn't playing. They have both of their right guards, who a lot of people have complained about, and Mason Cole and Ali Udoh. Neither of them are playing, which likely means Dakota Dozier is going to play. And I think at the end of the night tonight, this fan base is going to be rioting because Wyatt Davis still hasn't seen a meaningful snap. And going to the quarterback position, obviously Kirk Cousins put on the COVID list. I don't know. That's where I wanted to spend the majority of this show talking. I know this is where the fan base, I've seen tweets on both sides of the spectrum and everyone's saying, hey, look, Sean Mannion knows the offense and he has been the QB2. He won the QB2 position. Okay, then where are we with this front office, with Rick Spielman, with Mike Zimmer, and the decision to draft Kellen Mond? They're saying, oh, well, Sean Mannion understands the playbook. Where the hell has Kellen Mond been for the last 4, 5, 6 months then? Does he not know the playbook? Was he not able to learn the playbook fast enough? Is he just not a good quarterback? then why in the hell were there GMs and scouts from Houston that had Kellen Mond on the phone the pick before or the pick after the Vikings that said, hey, we're going to draft you right now, and you're probably going to end up starting for the Houston Texans. Instead, they draft Davis Mills, who in my opinion was a worse quarterback coming out of college than Kellen Mond. And he's been, I'm not saying Davis Mills is a great quarterback, but he's been a solid rookie. He's played decent the last couple of weeks, and it's frustrating as hell watching what is happening with this Minnesota Vikings roster. And I think you're starting to see that boil over. I'm just glad everyone on that side of the spectrum saying, hey, Sean Mannion gives us the best chance to win. Maybe the Vikings lose 42-10 or 42-13 instead of 42-3. But for God's sake, let's just make the game exciting. Give the fans a reason to watch this game, because I have a feeling with Sean Mannion out there, this game has a very good chance of being turned off by a lot of this fan base at halftime.
Yeah, that's the big talking point of this game, obviously, is the, Cousins being out, Sean Mannion getting the nod. And I know a lot of people, no one wants to speak ill of anyone, no one wants to you don't wish injuries on people. You don't wish COVID on somebody. But, I mean, Sean Mannion was already in the COVID protocols. So I think a lot of people were hoping Sean Mannion woke up with a tickle in the back of his throat. So that way, we could see the Kellen Mond experience, get him in the game, see what he's capable of doing. But we're not going to see it. And honestly, at this point, I don't think it's too crazy to say of the front office, okay, well, what exactly? I mean, to experiment, your job's on the line, and you took a quarterback in the third round. You know what taking a quarterback before the sixth round's going to do to a fan base. It's immediately going to, is that the guy? Is he the next, Fern Talkington? Is he the next, Aaron Rodgers? Is he the next this guy? So you take a quarterback in the third round with our second pick of the entire draft, and what is if he's bad and he's not good enough to stout a, I don't want to say meaningless because the playoffs are still in view, but your Cousins is out, so the game's likely over. We don't have a backup that anyone feels is competent enough to win a game. Why not Stoutmond? If he's that bad, that's an indictment on the front office, on the coaching staff, on everybody, on Kellen Mond himself. And so now I'm stuck here as a fan in a Columbus Blue Jackets hoodie saying, okay, well, what are we doing? What are we doing up there in Minnesota? Maybe, I've been one of those guys that said, new coach, keep the GM. At this point, if Kellen Mond is just a wasted third-round draft pick, you know what, let's get rid of everybody. Let's clean house. New GM, move into the building. He picks a new coach. The Wilfs can sell the damn team to Jay-Z or one of these billionaires that wants to buy a football team, and we'll just completely move on. The Wilfs have been fine owners. They I'm not actually going to hate on the Wilfs, but it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating to see us use draft capital on a quarterback, one that I wasn't super high on. I thought he was good. I thought he was a solid third-round pick, but Jack, I know you were over the moon on Kellen Mond. He was your guy in the draft. Well, besides Zach Wilson, he was your guy that you wanted to see the Vikings get later in the draft. They end up picking him. The fan base is excited. We see him in the preseason, use his legs, be mobile, make a couple of decent looking throws. And there's just been no creativity. And I go back to that with the Wyatt Davis not going to see a snap for the entire season thing as well. No creativity on the offensive line. No creativity in the play calling on offense. We haven't seen Kellen Mond take one snap in probably just a quarterback draw. But hey, he's a quarterback. He might tuck it and throw it. We haven't seen him do any of the Trey Lance type athleticism stuff that they've been doing in San Francisco that Jimmy G just can't do, that Cousins just can't do. We haven't seen any creativity with the offensive line, and defensively it seems like we're out there. Every week it seems that our defense is on the field. If they get a stop, the offense is going to go win the damn game, and every week the defense gives the game away. I just, it's so frustrating to be a fan of this team at this point. And I think I texted to you, and I stand by what I said. Best case scenario tonight for me, the Vikings are down 56-3 going into halftime, and they put Kellen Mond in, and damn it, we at least get to see what we have in the kid. Maybe he blows our socks off in the second half. He stouts next week in Chicago, looks decent, and then we know, okay, we're going to move on with this guy. And if he sucks next season, we'll replace him, but we're going to move on with him. We like what we saw in a game and a half with him. Worst case scenario, what? You wasted a third round pick. Okay. All right. It's a third round pick. Like, what do you want from me? But But yeah, I know we probably got injuries and stuff to talk about. That was my big rant, my big end of the season rant, probably. Like you said, a lot of playoff implications tonight for the Vikings. Hope is still alive for us to get into the dance. But Jack, walk me through the injury report tonight. Tell me who's in, who's out, and how big that's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys on IR as well. Like I just said, Adam Thielen will not be playing the rest of the season. It looks like Chaz Surratt, another rookie that we haven't seen at all, another questionable pick, in my opinion. That was one of the weirder ones. I know he was a developmental linebacker, quarterback turned linebacker out in North Carolina. Haven't seen him. And then Tyler Conklin's questionable. Cameron Dancer is doubtful, and Michael Pierce is out. This defense has already been in shambles, and I think it's going to look even worse. On the switching over to the Packers side, Jair Alexander, he's been getting some practice work in. He was limited all week, but he is not playing tonight. David Bakhtiari is not playing tonight. Tyler Lancaster is questionable, and Billy Turner has been ruled out already. But I just want to go back to this whole rookie thing, because at the beginning of the year, through the first few weeks, I was fine. I have been fine. I understand the type of coach that Mike Zimmer is. He likes to ease in his rookies, let them kind of get a better understanding of his defense or vice versa on the offensive side of the ball. But when guys start to go down and the depth is already extremely, extremely thin, and you're seeing third-round rookies and fourth-round rookies that aren't even dressing in games, what the hell is going on? I've stood up for Rick Spielman and a lot of the decisions he's made. I think Rick Spielman has been a very good GM. And I don't know if you're going to find a great GM if you decide to move on from Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer. I don't know what happens with the Kirk Cousins era, but we're heading into a fairly scary time to be a Vikings fan, I think, because you're already seeing the fan base is completely divided already. Half the fan base hates Kirk Cousins and wants to run. I shouldn't say hate Kirk Cousins, but they don't want him back. And that's kind of where I'm starting to lean towards. And then you still have the Kirk Cousins stands that are sticking up for a good quarterback, and rightfully so. I will say he is a good quarterback. But how do you expect the Vikings to do any sort of rebuild? I saw a tweet today, and it said, I don't remember who it was, but it was something along the lines of, why do people want to run Kirk Cousins out of town? All we have to do is get a right guard and then reestablish a good defense and get a new offensive-minded head coach. With what money? If Kirk Cousins is getting paid $45 million next year and all of these cornerbacks are on one-year deals already, like Mackenzie Alexander, Patrick Peterson, and they want to get re-signed, I think Patrick Peterson could make more money elsewhere. I know he said that he wants to come back next year. Does Patrick Peterson want to come back next year if Mike Zimmer isn't the head coach anymore? I don't know. Mike Zimmer completely retooled this defense. We saw a game with Michael Pierce and Dalvin Tomlinson. Finally, we've started to see a couple games with those two, and the run defense is still bad. We saw them cut Bashad Breeland, another signing that was supposed to help solidify that other outside cornerback position, and it hasn't been good. Cameron Dancer has made some shaky plays at best. What's the future with Anthony Barr on this team? What's the future with Danielle Hunter? He's going to need a new contract too. I have no idea how you can rebuild a defense with Kirk Cousins on this roster. If there's a way to do that, then fine. I agree. I think Kirk Cousins can be a good quarterback. I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to be the answer for this team for the short term right now. Maybe not even long term either. That didn't make much sense saying both of those, but it doesn't add up in my mind. It's like, yes, we've seen Rob Brzezinski be an absolute wizard with the cap, but if you keep pushing money back further down the road, it's going to come and bite you in the butt at some point. And I think we've reached that point. Kirk Cousins is due to make $45 million next year. And we're now starting to see all of these guys on one-year deals. They're not all going to be able to be retained. And on top of that, there's these guys that you call depth players, like the Chaz Surratt, like a Patrick Jones, Janarius Robinson. I know he got put on IR right at the beginning of the year. I don't know. The defense, there's no depth, and we're going to see that tonight. I think this defense is going to get absolutely annihilated. You're going to be seeing Patrick Peterson, and then with Cameron Dancer being doubtful, who is it? It's Patrick Peterson and Chris Boyd. If Chris Boyd is matched up on Devontae Adams at all tonight, good luck. And on top of that, we get to see Dakota Dozier back now because there's no depth along that offensive line, because Wyatt Davis, who is supposed to be an allegedly first-round pick pre-injury, isn't good enough to replace Dakota Dozier, who has been absolutely just pushed back and played like, I don't even want to say the word I was going to say there, but he's been atrocious. He's been awful. And now he's probably going to get the nod tonight, and Wyatt Davis is going to be on the sidelines. Where's the depth? Either we completely screwed up this draft class, or we have a stubborn head coach that isn't willing to give these guys a chance. But at the same time, you and I don't know what's going on in that locker room or at practice. Are they really that bad? Because if that's the case, then whoever has that job, they didn't do a good enough job at drafting these players in the first place. So there's just so much wrong with this team right now. And I think it's just time for some sort of rebuild. You have to get more money, and you have to freaking start hitting on some of these draft picks, because right now the future of this team is not looking very good.
Well, what's frustrating is we don't know if we've hit on the draft picks or not because we don't play them. And then it goes back to what you were just saying and what I said in my rant, and what I'm going to reiterate now. Are the players we drafted bad, or are we too stubborn to say we're going to play this rookie? But Mike Zimmer saying we can't play the rookie because we have to play the veteran. The veteran will do better than the rookie 10 times out of 10. I remember a few years ago, Rashad Hill got hurt in Green Bay, and the new right tackle was a rookie out of Pitt named Brian O'Neill, and he didn't give up a damn sack for a year and a half, and it was wonderful, and it was like, oh, cool, we got a right tackle. That's lucky. And then Ezra Cleveland comes in. I don't think he started at left guard. I'm pretty sure injuries brought him in to play at left guard. I know they were transitioning him to left guard, but like he comes in due to a guy going down, and he plays well. And this year, by PFF's metrics, he's the best lineman the Vikings have at left guard. It's so frustrating to see this team that it's a big meme that Rick Spielman just accumulates 20,000 draft picks, most of them in the 7th round, and just throws 100 darts at the board, hoping to get just 1 or 2 bullseyes. And it's like, okay, well, we have I'm getting angry, so my brain is more on like just say emotional things rather than like remember player names. Who's the safety that's been playing? Cam something.
Cam Bynum.
Thank you. Cameron Bynum. He's looked really good whenever he's been on the playing field. Are you telling me that, like, if we started a quarterback tonight in Kellen Mond, there's no chance in hell he could look pretty good? I'll tell you another quarterback who was a rookie who wasn't supposed to play, mid-round draft pick, went to the Dallas Cowboys out of Texas A&M. It's Dak Prescott, and he's competing for a number 1 seed right now. Wasn't supposed to play. Tony Romo, I think, broke his collarbone or broke his ankle. Tony Romo got hurt. Dak stepped in. Wasn't supposed to be anything. Played really well. Used his athleticism. Leaned on the run game. I mean, it's so frustrating. It's incredibly frustrating that we're not going to get to see what Kellen Mond is. So we're all going to be going in blind to, what we want to say in the offseason about should we replace Cousins with Mond? Should we draft a guy? The Ole Miss Matt Corral got injured last night. Maybe that hurts his draft stock, which I hate to see that happen to a nice young kid. If it benefits the Vikings, awesome. If we could get him on the team, awesome. Do we go with a rookie like that? I personally like the Malik guy out of Liberty. I think he's exciting. I like him. I don't know. I'd rather draft the defensive end, but who am I? It just, the fate of this team is up in the air. There's not one thing where it feels like that's where we need to go. This is what we need to do to be a champion. Feels like we got a couple of things, and it's replace the quarterback so we can afford to build a defense. It's, trust that the offensive linemen that we're grading out as, top 32 picks have that talent and play them. And, it's get a new coach in here that personally, I don't want an offensive-minded head coach anymore. I've switched. I want a coach like the Chargers have. That's a defensive guy. He's defensive focused, but he understands 2021 football. It's a passing league. You got to take chances. You got to go for it on 4th down. You got to play, I don't know. I like him a lot. I like get a defensive guy, but you have to get somebody who's not going to say, football is won in the trenches and you got to pound the beef and run the ball 60 times a game. And, I tweeted earlier today that there's going to be, 60 rushes tonight for about 30 yards. Mannion's going to go 1 for 9 with 3 interceptions. It's going to be a rout. It's going to be awful. And I stand by that. The Vikings could be at full health with Sean Mannion playing. I just cannot trust it. The weather might make it a little bit more of an even playing field, but I mean, I still don't trust our defense to stop Aaron Jones or the other running back that they have. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
AJ Dillon.
Thank you. I don't trust us to stop either of them. Not to mention, like you said, Chris Boyd lining up across from Devontae Adams is gonna be a problem, and he's gonna get matched up on him at some point. I mean, they're not just gonna let Patrick Peterson follow him around. They'll put him in the slot. They'll put him in the backfield. They'll do crazy stuff with him to get him the ball, and that's what good coaches do. That's what good teams do, and unfortunately, it's looking like the Vikings are lined up to finish the season as a mediocre team. Not bad, not good, middle of the pack. Probably going to pick in the 12 to 16 range. You know, it is what it is. Same old Vikings as it is every other year. This was supposed to be the playoff year, and unfortunately it wasn't. But Jack, I'll be honest. I think we agreed we weren't going to do game balls because tonight's going to be bad. For score predictions, I'm going to go 56 to 17. Kellen Mond gets us 2 touchdowns in the second half, and then he stouts next week versus the Bears. That's just that. That's all I can tell myself is going to happen to make this night seem like it's worth it. So I'll let you get into your score predictions, and then once you're good, we can get out of here and go watch some football.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be that big of a route, but I do agree with you on the end that I don't think it's going to be pretty. I think the weather is going to help the Vikings not get completely embarrassed. I do think it's going to be an embarrassing loss. I'm somewhere in like I could see this being like a 31-13 type game where the Vikings just walk out with their heads hung low. They're eliminated from the playoffs, and the future of this team is just in question. It's going to be a fun off season for us doing this show. I think there's going to be a lot to talk about. If there is a new head coach, what direction do they go in the draft? Is that new head coach going to want to be attached to Kirk Cousins? There's been some crazy trade rumors that are hypothesized by PFF or ESPN analysts, which obviously most likely won't always come to fruition. I don't know if this is possible, but if there's teams out there like a Pittsburgh Steelers, or I don't even know who the other ones would necessarily be, with quarterbacks kind of retiring, and just in general, if another team needs a new quarterback, if you can trade Kirk Cousins and get out of $35 million and get a first-round draft pick, I think one of them had the Vikings getting a first-round pick in 2022 and a second-round pick in 2023 and getting out of $35 million. If you're the Vikings front office and you get offered that trade and don't take it, I don't know what they'd be doing. That would blow my mind because of the conversation that we just had. And you will stick up, you will back me up for this. I've been a Kirk Cousins stan, if that's what all the kids are calling it nowadays. So I got to make myself sound like I'm caught up to speed, but I've stuck up for Kirk Cousins and I will continue to do so. Kirk Cousins could go to Pittsburgh. He could get on a team with a coach that values his arm talent and has an offensive line and a defense that isn't going to choke every game away that he has a bad game, and he could be successful. I think a lot of the people that are labeled as Kirk Cousins haters, they will tell you the same thing. Kirk Cousins can be successful in this league. We've seen Kirk Cousins be successful in this league, but $45 million for a quarterback that might not honestly quite be elevating the team. And this is a conversation we were having before. I've had it several times with you on this show. This team needs a quarterback that the locker room will ride for. And I just don't see that with Kirk Cousins. We saw it with Teddy Bridgewater. We saw it with Case Keenum. The relationships, that is a huge, huge portion of football. And we were talking about Matt Corral. Matt Corral last night when he had his game, he got hurt. That sucks to see. I hate seeing that, especially when he's one of the top quarterbacks in this upcoming draft class. They asked him, why are you playing in this game? You're going to the NFL. And he's like, I can't let my teammates down. I can't turn my back on them. I don't know. That speaks to me. I just feel like we're stuck in purgatory in Minnesota where it's Sam Bradford wearing sleeves with no swagger, throwing a touchdown pass and walking to the sideline like a goddamn robot. It's Kirk Cousins slinging it downfield. Kirk Cousins has a little bit more swag to him. He tried to gritty last year in Detroit. Yeah, that was cute when we were already eliminated from the playoffs. Fine. Kirk Cousins, yes, he has a little bit of that. I think he has a little bit more of a leadership ability, but I just don't know if that's really utilized enough. I don't know if he shows that. He hasn't wanted to restructure his contract, and I understand that it's money that he's earned. But you see Tom Brady restructuring so he can get guys on his roster because he wants to go out and win his 8th Super Bowl ring. Why won't Kirk Cousins do that? Does Kirk Cousins not want to be playing on a better roster? I don't know. I think it's time for a change, and that's scary for me too. I will admit there's a good chance if you make a change, the next couple of years could be really ugly. If they draft the next Christian Ponder and that happens, then it could go downhill. If they have a coach that isn't going to come in and kind of flip the script around a little bit, if they hire a new head coach, Mike Zimmer's been a good head coach since he was hired here in 2014. I just think when you get to a certain point, you have to move on and you have to try something new if it's not working. And I think the Vikings have officially hit that point. I would love to see this team with a new head coach, a new quarterback next year. And I don't know who that is yet, because if it is a rookie, who knows if he's starting. Have Kellen Mond, draft a guy like Matt Corral, Malik Willis, draft one of those guys, bring in a veteran. This is going to make everyone go absolutely crazy. Bring Teddy Bridgewater back and let those three just compete. He's a very good quarterback
Hell
at bridging.
yeah.
That's what Teddy has done now since he's left Minnesota. He's bridged the gap for rookie quarterbacks. But that would probably kill Mike Zimmer if he was Teddy Bridgewater came back and he wasn't the head coach of this team.
It would be the ultimate like middle finger to him out the door. Like, look, I get that. Like, I respect what Mike Zimmer's done, but I'm fully in like Mike Zimmer is now my ex-girlfriend that I want to see just fail at everything that he tries to do. And in 20 years at the high school union, I'll look back on Mike Zimmer's days and I'll say, man, we had some fun years with Mike Zimmer. But right now, damn it, Mike, play Wyatt Davis and Kellen Mond so we have a shot at getting to the playoffs. And maybe we make something. God, I can't do it, Jack. I can't. This season's been
That's
too
the
long.
what if. And I tweeted something about that right away when we got the Kirk Cousins news. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, and there's people that have told me that Kellen Mond isn't the answer. He's not a good quarterback. Maybe that's not the case, but that goes back to us. Are you still with me? You're kind of lagging there a little bit. I don't know what's going on.
Yes.
There we go.
I use my camera as a phone, and my mom just tried to FaceTime me.
All good. But I had people like, it's like saying that Sean Mannion gives this team the best chance to win. What chance? Does it bump us to a 0.5 chance up to a 1% chance at winning this football game? Does Sean Mannion, do we expect Sean Mannion to go toe-to-toe with Aaron Rodgers? If this team has any chance at making any sort of noise tonight in Lambeau Field, that all goes through Dalvin Cook. Every Vikings fan will tell you that. That doesn't go through Sean Mannion. It's not going to go through Kellen Mond. But at the end of the day, what you can do with Kellen Mond is more enticing to me. It's more enticing, and that's how I feel like this fan base should feel, rather than saying, hey, Sean Mannion gives us a better chance at winning the game. Who cares? If you think that the Vikings have a chance at winning this game with Sean Mannion, then you should kind of question your optimism at this point, honestly. I'm normally optimistic. Jordan has called me optimistic, Jack, since we started doing this show. I have zero gas left in the tank. I am fully on E. I'm not running on fumes anymore. I am stuck in the ditch in freezing cold Minnesota with this Minnesota Vikings team. We've hit a wall, and there's no more. I mean, I don't think with this team right now, there's no more room for growth. There has to be a reset button to some extent. You can build around guys like Justin Jefferson, some of those pieces on the offensive line. You got Dalvin Cook. This offense could be set up for a quarterback to come in that will take chances, play with a little bit more swag. Maybe he's not as good as Kirk Cousins, but you know what? That defense has a chance of being a whole hell lot better because it's a quarterback on a rookie contract and you're not paying him $45 million. So that's my 2 cents. I just don't think Sean Mannion gives the Vikings a chance to win in Lambeau Field. So why not? And that's another thing. You know what's that's scary for the Minnesota Vikings to do. You talk about Malik Willis. Loves using his legs, huge arm. The Vikings with this front office, they're not having success with Malik Willis because you know why? They're going to try to run the ball 25, 30 times, and they're going to have – it's just frustrating. They wouldn't tailor the needs, I don't think, to a Malik Willis. And that's what they could do with Kellen Mond tonight. You could see a more athletic quarterback. Maybe he's not as smart or caught up to speed as Sean Mannion quite yet. but he has, I can promise you right now, he's faster than Sean Mannion. You can do more with the quarterback draw game. You can get him out and play action. You can I just want to see the kid play. I want to see Wyatt Davis play. I want to see why the hell we drafted Chaz Surratt with a 3rd round pick, a former quarterback turned linebacker. I know these guys are developmental guys. The Vikings don't have a chance at winning this game with Sean Mannion. They probably don't have a chance winning with Kellen Mond, but that what if factor, that's something that intrigues me, and it clearly doesn't intrigue this Vikings coaching staff. I know they're coaching for their job, but at the end of the day, if you are coaching for your job and Sean Mannion is your quarterback and you're confident in that, maybe you shouldn't be a head coach anymore.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, like, I don't know. I question Mike Zimmer's sanity at this point, but that's really all I got. I know we got kickoff for the 1:00 slate or the noon slate for you Central Time Zone people. We got that coming up here in a little under half an hour. So I'll kind of give my little final thoughts here. Like I said, I do think this is a big Green Bay win tonight, which stinks. It would be nice to play spoiler to them, even if we didn't get into the playoffs, but it is what it is. I think that, like Jack said and has alluded to, it's going to be a very fun offseason for us on this show, as it always is. Doing the draft stuff and doing, the free agency coverage. I think I've said this before. The draft is the best time because every pick is a slam dunk. There are no busts. This 7th round guy is gonna have a Hall of Fame kick return career. Like, it's all optimistic and it's great. And until we get to the regular season when we get our souls ripped out by the Vikings. But I really don't have a ton on this game anymore. It would just be cool if we got to see some of these young guys that the fan base has been clamoring to see get their shot tonight. Whether that be, hopefully that's just because the coaching staff decides to put him in. I don't want to see Sean Mannion go down with an injury. I'm not gonna say that. There will be people that tweet, "Thank God Sean Mannion, did XYZ, so now we get Kellen Mond to come in." Don't be that guy. Sean Mannion is a good human being. By all accounts, he's going to be an NFL offensive coordinator someday. Like, he's a very smart, very nice man. I don't hate Sean Mannion. I hate the decision to play Sean Mannion. But yeah, other than that, fantasy championships this week. I benched Greg Joseph, and I'm going up against Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook, which I feel very good about with Sean Mannion under center. So hopefully that works out for me. Hopefully I have a little bit of a silver lining around tonight's game. Jack, I'll pass it over to you to get the final thoughts in. But other than that, it feels like tonight is the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, I think so. And we'll be able to talk a little bit more about that next week when we kind of start to get in the swing of things a little bit. I know the off season will kind of, maybe sometimes we switch a little bit more bi-weekly when there's not as much stuff to talk about. Then in a few months from now, Jordan and I are going to be deep diving prospects in the NFL draft, super deep defensive class at the edge position, at the cornerback position. Great news for the Minnesota Vikings because they desperately need help on all 3 phases of that defense. The secondary is not going to be pretty, I don't think, next year. They have Eric Kendricks still. I don't know what the future holds for Anthony Barr, Danielle Hunter. It's going to be interesting. I'm excited to dive into these prospects a little bit more, kind of start switching the gears from, hey, this has been an extremely draining Viking season that, like you just said, has sucked the soul out of its entire fan base, and kind of switching over to, hey, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's some optimism coming back. We're getting in the draft. The draft is going to be more fun than watching the Vikings tonight. I can almost guarantee you that. So looking forward to it. But yeah, like Jordan said, it's going to be a fun off season. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at LTB Vikings. There will be a ton of draft content. It almost seems like we start to hit our content a little bit more when the draft season rolls around, because I think Jordan and myself both like that time of year more, especially when the Vikings have seasons like they've had in 2021. So that is all I have. Most importantly, I'm going to say this as I always do. It's not a sign of optimism. I have no optimism left inside of me. I already said that, but Skol as always.